क्या हाल है क्या हाल है क्या हाल है मैं हूँ आपका दोस्त आपका साथी डीजे मूडी ऑन फन एशिया रेडियो मूडी अख्तर एंड वेलकम टू येट अनदर एडिशन ऑफ अ लीडर्स जर्नी एंड प्रोड्यूस्ड बाय वैशाली ठक्कर आई एम मूडी अख्तर एंड वी ब्रिंग टू यू दिस शो ओनली सो आप हमारे लिसनर्स ऑफ फन एशिया रेडियो सुन पाए हमारे लीडर्स को जो कि हमारे कम्युनिटी में बहुत सारे काम बहुत सारी मेहनत करके इस लेवल पे पहुंचे हैं जहां पे हम उनसे बहुत कुछ सीख पाते हैं वंस अगेन आई एम वेरी हैप्पी टू हैव मिस्टर गुरशमन Baweja, Senior Vice President and Chief Information Officer at Texas Instruments TI.
Gurshaman Baweja is Senior Vice President and Chief Information Officer of Texas Instruments. Broad information technology experience in manufacturing, supply chain, and e-commerce. Multiple patent disclosures and journal and conference publications in the areas of computer integrating, manufacturing, constraint management algorithms, and manufacturing process control. He received his PhD and Master's of Science degree in Industrial Engineering from Arizona State University and a Master's of Business Administration from Southern Methodist University. He works with local universities and schools to mentor children and promote STEM. And he also works with Leukemia and Lymphoma Society through cancer fundraising and advocacy activities.
So, before we say anything, absolutely pleasure to have you, sir, at the studio of Fun Asia Radio on behalf of Vaishali Thakkar, Sam, myself, and the entire Fun Asia management team. I would like to welcome you, sir, on the studios, and we'll start with asking you, how was your childhood like? Where did the journey start?
So first, let me start off with pleasure is all mine. Okay, childhood. I was born and I grew up in India for first 22 years of my life. My dad was in a government service, so we never stayed in one city for more than 3 years. So my schooling actually. I never had a consistent 10 years of friends and everybody in one school. So to some extent, right, it almost taught me how to make new friends every 3 years. Okay, and that's an experience in itself. And we, moved around to a lot of cities, mainly in Punjab and Himachal Pradesh. And big difference between living in Himachal and living in Punjab. The beauty of living in Himachal is that you have mountains in your backyard. You can just get out and actually experience the snowfall maybe by walking 20 minutes from your backyard up the mountain. So very wide exposure to culture, even though it's all India, just in different cities, different schools. And then obviously, right, I sat a little bit, maybe for 6 straight years, did my last 6 years of education in Chandigarh, DAV College and Punjab Engineering College. So that was my probably longest tenure as growing up childhood in one city. So, wide experiences.
So Punjab, talk about Punjab. Yesterday we had a festival and Punjab and Punjabi folks and Punjabi culture is so lively and so warm. So it's so good to know that you had. So one thing I'll ask you on that journey of your 3-year, so we all, if we look at life, it is a journey. We all go through phases growing up with our siblings, then we move on to our families, then our kids grow up. So you had that experience right from growing up. So without, wasting too much time on, I have some very critical questions that our listeners of Fun Asia would love to know about. To make it to the level you have made it in, Texas Instruments, has it been being an immigrant, right? You have been an immigrant. A lot of listeners, we have a lot of H1 listeners, H1B folks, a lot of green card folks, and we all come to this land of opportunity and we all want to make it big and be the next level person. So what are the challenges you saw becoming a C-level executive at TI?
Yeah. I think let me give you a little bit of a Punjab, 30 seconds, and then we'll get into some high-powered stuff you're talking about here. So Punjab, right? If you think about, it's you know, a land of very hardworking people. That's my observation. Okay, people are very hardworking, and people enjoy really well. Okay, festivals, right? And people have very open heart. Okay, you are welcome in anybody's house, and there is a lot of food all the time. I think you know, being from Sikh religion, I'll tell you, right, that you know, if I think about gurdwaras and I think about how much effort goes on in doing a 7 by 24 hour langar in Golden Temple in Amritsar, and it never fails. Number one, and number two, it always tastes good. Okay, that's lots of food going on, and lots of people making it. It's not like there is a system there. I mean, there's, you know, but it's always good and it never ends. I mean, there's something there, right? And you can thank God for it, you know, that it happens that way. But that system, right? I think it comes from people's love, is what I think. Okay, and that system really never fails. I mean, I've never seen where people say, okay, the langar stopped for 4 hours right now. It doesn't, right? And so that, I think, builds into Punjab's culture, right? And you know, there are, you know, and I don't even draw the lines of Sikh Hindu, right? It's in the blood of Punjabis, and you know, half of us are Hindus and half of us are Sikhs, and it's just that culture, right? I just am amazed, right?
And you know, love and passion makes it happen.
That's
And the process just
Yep.
goes with the flow.
Right.
And as you said, never fails any taste. I have had langar,
Yep.
nothing like langar.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, at home, right, you may have an extra salt in the dal, but it doesn't happen in langar.
Yeah.
Right now, you know, you can really play the game a little bit, right? Because you have so much going on, so you can add a little bit more and get it right. But you get it right, right? And it's very tasty all the time.
So have you ever been a back end at the langar? Have you cooked? Have you been in the kitchen?
A lot of times, and I'm not a good cook, right? But there's a lot of people to guide you, right? And there's a lot of things to do, right? You know, just from chopping vegetables to getting stuff at one place to actually, you know, heating the oil and doing stuff, right? And then cleaning up, right? So there's lots and lots of activity in the back, which is running like machine. And I've been in the back all the time.
And they're not running IT operations,
They're not
right?
running IT
So
operations.
how's it all
And
flowing?
and it's working, right? It's working, right? Think about the scale of that thing, and it's working, right? I mean, I can tell you, Dallas, Gurdwaras, we've been there in the back kitchen there, right? It works. I mean, even for 500 people, serve them in 2 hours. That's not an exercise. And it's everything made fresh.
Wow.
Right? So the journey keeps going.
And mostly volunteers.
You're
not making
mostly.
any money there.
Everybody's volunteer. It's not mostly.
Yeah.
100% volunteers. There's zero people making money.
So how do you connect that to the world we live in? The technology.
I think they think this is right. Where I come to technology, and I was just talking to somebody outside the door here, right? You know, sometimes, right, the world of technologies have complexities, right? And technologies are changing very fast. Every 3 years stuff changes, right? What I learned in school as what technology was, is not anymore, okay? But that evolution of learning of technology is not the hard part. Everybody will learn technology, okay? Even you look at yourself, right? The tools you use today at the studio versus tools you used at the studio 15 years ago were different. Did you go back to a 2-year school to go learn them? No, right? You went home, probably spent 3 hours, and then you struggled. You know, you came here and you struggled again, and about a month later, it was life, right? Yeah. So I think technology will evolve, okay? And so to me, right, the success in career or in any activity, whether it's langar in Gurdwara or whether it's a job, right, it really boils down to, people call them soft skills. I call them power skills. It's the same thing, okay? I'm not introducing anything different, right? It's your ability to learn. It's your ability to solve problems. It's your ability to listen. They don't change with technology, okay? It's those basic things, I think, in my mind, right, are the root of success, whether it is langar in Gurdwara or whether it is professional career life, right? Now, I think
Learn. I really want to write this down. Learn, listen, and
so learn, listen, and I said something.
I
right?
just really liked the three things. I want to take it and live it.
Solve problem solving.
Solve problem
right?
solving.
Right. So I think that they become foundational, and over time in career, right, you keep getting better at them, and they don't lose you. They don't give up on you. They don't go away. Okay. And I don't think so. And you can go do research, right? If you go search problem solving, that term, that challenge existed 300 years ago. Okay. And the challenge is today. I don't think so Microsoft Word existed 3 years ago, but it doesn't exist today, right? So technology will happen. Now, what I tell, and I am the same way, right? When I come out of college, right, we are exposed to the hype of technologies. So we chase them for a little bit, okay? And my experience in life is, right, if you continue to chase technologies as your forefront, yes, you will get better at every technology. You will do well in career, right? But the scope and breadth of your responsibilities may stall.
Okay.
But if you focus really on, right, the technology is given. If I don't do it, I'm no good, right? And keep building on your listening skills, learning skills, problem solving skills, I think you expand and grow in career.
Wow. So in problem solving, we are talking technical and non-technical management.
Think about, right, what is problem solving?
I just solved the problem 30 minutes ago.
Exactly, right? I mean, you walk in front of this door, right, and the door's locked.
Yeah.
And you don't have the code to get in. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Right? What do you do? Now, in this case, right, you probably called somebody and you knew somebody, right? So it was very defined and clear, right? But in the end, the problem solving is simple, right? It's about, defined understanding what it is, understanding the solutions which will solve it, right? And you just solve it, right? I mean, it took 10 seconds there, but sometimes it takes 2 years, right? I'll give you a story. I mean, this is a powerful story. I think you can relate to problem solving.
So once again, Dallas, I just want to let you know, listeners, जिन्होंने अभी tune in किया, we are listening to our very, very successful South Asian business senior vice president of Texas Instrument, Gurshaman Baweja. If I'm not saying it correctly, please correct me, sir. And he's been working at TI currently as a C-level executive. It takes a lot to get there. Please share your story, sir.
Okay. So problem solving is what we were talking about, right? The root of this thing, right? If you think about this, right? I am in the middle of doing my PhD defense, right? And it's about 10 minutes left. The one person I'm very scared of that if he asks a question, it'll be a trumping question, has not asked a question. In last 10 minutes, he volunteers to ask a question. And he said to me very simply, he said, I'm going to give you 3 choices. I just want you to pick one of these choices as answer to the question. So you have to listen to the instructions. You can't start talking. It's very clear. 3 answers, pick one. And the 3 answers are 0, 50, and 100. That's all the 3 answers are. So his question is, now he's going to tell you the question, right? His question is, you have done an outstanding job of describing a problem, because PhD is about research and problem solving. I just want to know, what is the probability that your solution will actually be used by the world, big word, right? Everybody in the world to solve this problem. And I want you to pick 0% probability, 50% probability, and 100% probability. Very tricky question. 0 means you got no confidence. 100 means prove it. You have too much confidence. 50 means, yeah, you're just cruising along.
Yeah.
So everything is wrong to some extent, right? So I asked for permission to explain my answer before I picked the choice.
Okay.
So I listened to the instructions, but I didn't like the instructions. So I asked for modification. So I'm trying to solve the problem, right? So he agreed. He says, yeah, you can talk about something, right? So we got into, and I said, look, think this way. This is a hard problem. You agreed. This is an effective problem for Word to solve. You agreed. So what I'm telling you is this, right? That my work in this problem for last 2 years has shown people a path to address this problem. If more work's done at the end and this path is a dead end, that is still a huge learning to solve this problem.
Wow.
Because then people should not follow this path to solve this problem. They should try to find something else because it's a complicated problem. So I have added a lot of value to solving this problem. Do you still need an answer? And he said no.
Wow. So again, a typical
Problem solved.
listener
Yep.
would say they have this, being in that scenario, they would tend to pick a number.
Yes, fast, right?
Right? I'm one of them. Maybe I'm not the kind who
Patience,
would. Yeah.
patience, right? You want to be quick and fast in answer, right? And you do have a good explanation too. You'll have an explanation, right? There's nothing wrong with it, right? But the reality of life is, right, that's a complicated problem. You got to solve through it, and there will be multiple attempts to solve it, multiple ways to solve it. It's not just a code in the door, right? So that's what I talk about. I mean, how do you kind of build the depth of that?
Lovely, lovely. So again, as and we are going to have this podcast recorded and played multiple times. So I want our listeners to take some meat. You know, whatever I've heard so far is amazing, but the questions we have, right? C-level exec is not an easy place to be in corporate America or wherever in the world. It takes a lot. You know, we all lived IT 20, 30 years. Mostly the immigrants that have been here, they have done 10, 20, 30. How did you, what is your advice to them?
I think it's simple, okay? Number one, let your work do the talking. Let your output do the talking, okay? And never stop learning. Never stop learning. Let the work do your talking, okay? And focus on actually trying to make sure, right, that the foundational things which are going to stay with you are always expanding and you go back to your roots, okay? My passion, right? I mean, you talked about immigrant, you talked about foreigner, right? I think you lead why inclusion, right? We can talk about that we are foreigners, right? But let's think about, right, how much do we include everybody else, right? So in the end, right, what I'm proud of from TI perspective is really culture of inclusion, okay? And that really makes everything work very well, okay? So that's how I sort of look at it.
And very good point. I'll ask you a few corporate level things along the same lines, right? Inclusion is great, you know, having, you know, the talent is great, but still, if you live in any technology world, there is politics, right? How do you overcome and not think, hey, is it because I'm an immigrant or I'm friends to this person? How do you get to the ladder up there, right? After 2 levels, 3 levels, it's...
Yeah. I think DJ Moody, I think the key to me is, right, that you can use those things to convince yourself that everybody's against you. Everybody's trying to get you, right? That's an easy answer when that happens, okay? I think my challenge to everybody is look inside. Look in the mirror, right? To make change to what you don't like, what can you control? What can you do? Okay? You can't change everybody, okay? But you can change yourself. You can adjust. And there could be a chance when, you know, you've tried everything, honestly, really, which I think it's very difficult to get there, and it still doesn't work, right? Then you give up and you go somewhere else, right?
But don't be a victim.
Don't be a victim, right? You control your life. You got to change yourself. That's the best thing you control. And the easy thing you can handle the excuse code is it's everybody else's fault.
Love it.
Right?
So don't blame the economy, don't blame the culture, don't blame the boss.
Yep.
Look inside and grow.
Yep.
Thank you. So next thing, 20 years, if you have to go back 20 years in your career, what would you change?
I think one thing I will change is, right, that I have learned the power of mentoring the hard way. I wish somebody would have told me how powerful it is to be vulnerable to a mentor early on in my career. I sort of, being an introvert, coming out of India, you know, Indian education system taught me a lot, right? It was all about, I'm going to go learn and solve it. I think if I would have made myself vulnerable a little bit more, exposed myself to somebody I could have learned from and had that fearless conversation, I think I'll do it more. It took me a little while to get there and learn the power of mentoring and following people.
Wow, that's very solid. Thank you. Next thing, you know, again, we are dealing with Delta. COVID has been, you know, working from home. It's important that we have broken down you know, work and office life balance and, you know, tips and effective, you know, how do you manage time effectively with COVID, with home, with family, with everything else, boss pinging you, night, day, dogs barking?
I think very tough situation. Okay, tough question to ask, and I will probably want to bring a little bit of a personal situation at the end. But I think if I look in generalities, right, the COVID, when it happened, and I'm talking from just experience in TI, right? We went from working from home, working from office to home in 24 hours. Right?
Wow.
Friday night, Monday morning, nobody comes, right? Because it just went fast, right? And when that happened, right, the positive is, right, you save 2 hours of drive time. Okay, I mean, you don't have to go, from north of Plano in Allen down to 635, 75 with the traffic and all that stuff, right? But the bad part is, right, that you don't know when to start and when to stop. Right? You get out of your bed. You want to go walk a little bit, exercise, but here you just go into the study and the computer is on, and you don't have to go dress up, get in a car, going somewhere, right? So the boundaries are very blurry, right? Same thing happens on the end of the day, right? Even though you don't have to drive, right? And you're right, but you don't have to stop either. So that's the challenging part, right? But I think a lot of that is you have to really prioritize things in your life. You have to think about what it is, right? And then the other problem is, right, you can't go anywhere. You're here anyway, so why worry about going to the other room? And you can, I'm busy right now, right? But you have to prioritize, right? Because your family is not going anywhere either, right? So everybody has now their own limitations. But I think to me, what it boils down is discipline. Really, really keep up front in front of you, right? That you have a family, work ends at some point, right? And now, the emergencies are going to come, right? Things will happen, exceptions will happen and all that stuff, right? But you have to start to build a little bit of discipline in your life and think very carefully, right? What do you have to do? What's important? Before COVID, right, I know I got to go teach soccer, to my kids, and I'm the coach. So we know that at 5 o'clock you go on the ground, but there's no 5 o'clock here. So work ends at 4:15 on that day when we got to go there, and you got to be in the ground, right? Here, there's none of that, right? You don't have to go in the other room and talk to the kids because, there's no, it's kind of look like same, right? Yeah. So you have to draw those lines carefully, right? And I think people struggle with drawing those lines. I struggle with drawing those lines, right? And I think, but this is not ending soon. It may end hybrid. It may end, partially work. I don't know, 3 months of open, 2 months of close. Who knows, right? It's been a long time. So I think we have to really, really carefully think about, right, what's important in life. And I want to, take you to a little bit of my family journey.
Yeah,
okay
we have 3
right?
minutes,
okay.
And I have one last quick thing,
Okay.
but go ahead.
Yeah.
You go ahead
Yeah.
first.
So we lived through COVID, even pre-COVID, with a very serious illness for our child, as you know. And we lost her in the middle of a little bit before COVID at a very early age, right? Just a 22-year-old kid, right? My daughter. And I think when that happens, right? And then COVID close happened, right? So we were kind of close before in the hospitals and trying to work all that stuff, right? It's hard, okay? And with not, so the three things help you through it. 1, faith. 2, as much as friends can be in your life with that closed environment, whether it is Zoom calls, you increase your bubble a little bit, they come in, spend time with you, talk with you. Amazingly, her dance team became our extended family, right? Those kids were always with us, right? They will see us, right? And then the last thing is, right, that we wanted to learn from it and teach others. And that's where I got so connected with Leukemia Society, either through fundraising or through talking to parents who are going through that experience, right? And so that became part of our life, right? To how do I use that learning, because I know what it takes. I know how hard it is, right? And can it be less hard for somebody else, right? That's where you start to focus your life on, try to give back to the community to some extent, right? And I will encourage, I will challenge everybody listening, get part of that journey, help me. I'm going to ask for the help, okay? We are doing that for my daughter, right? And DJ Moody will figure out some way to how to connect me, right? If you want to give my cell phone number, anybody want to text me to have a discussion. If you're going through it, want some help, that's great. You want to come help, that's great. And I'm okay to just share my cell phone number. Right? Anybody can text me. It's 972-693-7256. Let's join together. There is a lot of research needed. There are a lot of medical research needed. There's a lot of help needed.
Lot of mentoring needed.
A lot of mentoring needed to make this right. I mean, one of the programs we started, right, people who have recovered out of it, how do we help them go through education fast so that they can, right, because they have their own limitations and struggles, right? So there's lots of good stuff. There's lots of help needed.
On behalf of Vaishali Thakkar and Sam Thakkar, they have so many great things to say about you. Thank you so much for being here on our show this evening.